Here we go. Expect to see evacuation orders being put into place ahead of Tropical Storm Beta, soon to be Hurricane Beta, threatening a wide area. Look at this. Port Mansfield, Texas, all the way through Morgan City, Louisiana, under tropical storm warnings, soon to be hurricane warnings. That's right, my friends. Welcome back. September 19th, 2021, 16 p.m. And not even able to catch our breath after Hurricane Sally ravages the Gulf. We now have Tropical Storm Beta on its approach to a hurricane status. 60-mile-an-hour sustained winds right now. And 994 millibars in pressure expected to drop. Another slow-moving storm northwest at 3 miles an hour. They're expecting landfall next week. Today is obviously Saturday, so we have a few days before we can expect this to make landfall. Let's take a look at the track really quick. Now, clearly, we have a lot of uncertainty in this chart here because of the wide cone of uncertainty. Basically, you got to think of the line, the direction it's actually going at this current time. In fact, the spaghetti plots may help us a little more with this. And as you can see, this is not easy to make sense of. So basically, what we have is the storm sitting right in this area here, basically south of western Louisiana. We are expecting a Texas landfall. That is why we're seeing the warnings all the way from down this area, the border of Mexico and Texas, all the way through Louisiana. This may change. We could see this storm head in an eastern direction. That is why these spaghetti plots are all over the place. For the most part, we have a western movement towards Texas right now. But after that, this 24 to 36 hour period, this storm has no clue where it wants to go, and it's only going to strengthen due to the warm water once again in the Gulf. We have seen this happen multiple times this year. Over here at weathernerds.org, we're taking a look at the current formation, the current health of this storm, and we could see a type of a shear wind. You could see a lot of the moisture getting peeled off and to the west over basically the entire Gulf state area. We got Louisiana obviously right under the storm. It kind of looks like the storm is on that border between Mississippi and Louisiana, but that storm is actually in western Louisiana if you move south into the Gulf. So all this moisture is being branched off, and a significant high pressure system moving across the top of the country. I will go over that in a little bit when we talk about Teddy, because the situation with Hurricane Teddy is actually going to be determined by that high pressure system that's moving across the top of the country. It will cross the Great Lakes, and then it will sit almost like a hat on top of Teddy, and depending on which side of that pressure breaks, whichever half is bigger is going to control the direction of Teddy, which we'll talk about in just a minute. Let's finish up with Tropical Storm Beta. So once again, if these tracks do stay true, we can see Beta becoming a hurricane within the next 24 hours. I do believe it'll be a little sooner than that. The only thing really stopping this storm right now or holding it in its place is that bit of shear wind we're seeing. And you're also noticing, when I showed you the spaghetti plots, the direction in which this storm takes after making its western movement. So if we follow, let's say, this red one here, follow just the same color, we have this storm moving in a western direction. In 24 hours, it's going to be right about here. And then 48 hours, it's going to almost double that span of space it covers and continue to head west. And then within that 72-hour period, keep in mind, that's 3 days from now. This thing is just a few hundred miles off the coast, and it's going to sit in the Gulf for a few days without making landfall. And just as it's about to make landfall, you can see here at the 72-hour mark, it decides to make an east coast turn, and then at the 144-hour mark, it decides to make a western turn again. So a lot of confusion in the path of this storm, which is exactly what makes storm forecasting, especially in the Gulf, this much more dangerous, because those storm warnings are going all the way from the border of Mexico, where southern Texas is, all the way through Louisiana, and that's basically covering half the Gulf just with the tropical storm warnings, and we don't even have a hurricane yet, let alone the possibility of this storm moving to the east, which it already looks like it's doing. But please, I'm warning you now, do not be caught off guard by that, because this is going to dump a lot of rain in Texas and Louisiana, and that's when we're going to start worrying about Mississippi, Alabama, and the Panhandle if we don't see an eastern turn in the storm itself. This is a total precipitation chart right here, and keep in mind, this is being predicted with the crazy amount of confusion being predicted with Tropical Storm Beta. So just look in this area right here and match over to the chart. We're looking at 10 to 15 inches of rain, even with the confusion. So basically take this entire basically half circle you see here of darker yellows and then the brighter yellow, and move that into Texas and Louisiana, and then begin to shift that to the east, because eventually towards the end lifespan of this storm, and I say the end of the lifespan because once you're in the Gulf, you really don't have anywhere to go unless it were to dissipate and then reform again, kind of like Paulette's doing in the middle. But this storm is going, whether it moves west or east, it's eventually going to hit Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, or the panhandle of Florida. And right now, this is the area we're looking at. So a second storm within a month to really get close to that western edge of Louisiana. And now we're talking about Texas, anywhere from Houston, which kind of sits right in the middle of the tropical storm warnings right here. Of course, Freeport to the north of that, closer to the Gulf. But just look at the extension. Usually they have a section about from here to here cut off when they have an idea of where the storm's going to go. But because of the uncertainty, we got the entire coast of Texas and most of the coast of Louisiana right now. All right, and taking a look at the time I've already spent on this video, I'm going to just go over Teddy very quickly because the main focus right now is obviously going to be on Tropical Storm Beta and soon to be Hurricane Beta. But Teddy is making a shot for the northeast of the United States and or a little bit more west into Canada, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland area. And here is the Navy chart that is showing its version of the model. We have a high pressure system moving across the entire United States, which is really going to determine the steering for this storm. I'm going to go over this very quickly, and I will detail it in the next video. But basically what's going to happen is the high pressure is going to kind of sit on top of Teddy, and it's going to split in half. And whichever half is stronger is going to be the steering factor for this storm. And in this particular situation, we can see that the higher of the two halves of pressure is this side, and immediately you see Teddy pushed towards the west or the eastern side of the United States. So this is what that determining factor is going to be. And if I back up, you can kind of get an idea of how that's going to work. And you can see right there that split, just a little bit more momentum on this side changes the steering to go this way. And then, for example, if we take the GFS chart and we move forward, we could see that split happening again. High pressure here, and then it's a little more even. So you can see Teddy wants to kind of just roll up in this area. These storms want to move north naturally without the influence of pressures. So when the pressure is removed, they want to move in a northern direction. The European chart does not currently have enough data to get us into that time frame. But finally, on the Canadian model, you could see when that pressure releases, the stronger of the two high pressures is on the western side of the storm, which naturally moves it in a more eastern direction out into the Atlantic right there. So you can see the concern between New York and that last area of Canada. We see we kind of split the difference there, and we have a couple more days until we get finalized on that track. All right, my friends, I've kept you here long enough. Thank you all so much for listening and tuning in. If you have not already, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Every little bit helps, and I enjoy putting this content out to you. My friends, especially in Canada nowadays, shout out to you, especially Ontario, and thank you all for watching. I'll be back later on this afternoon or tomorrow morning with an update on Beta and Teddy. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.